Good day! Today we will be discussing the 8 philosophers and their perspective about self. Number 1. René Descartes, 1596 to 1650. René Descartes was a creative mathematician of the first order, an important scientific thinker, and an original metaphysician. Descartes' dualism of mind and matter implied the concept of human beings. A human was, according to Descartes, a composite entity of mind and body. Descartes gave priority to the mind and argued that the mind could exist without the body, but the body could not exist without the mind. His theory is, I think, therefore I am. It means kung ano ang iniisip mo o ng tao sa iyo, ayun ang totoong ikaw. Nag-start tong saying niya because of his doubts. So if nagda-doubt ka sa iyong sarili o sa isang bagay, you are real or buhay ka. Number 2, John Locke, 1632 to 1704. John Locke was a British philosopher, Oxford academic, and a medical researcher. Our sense of experience will mold and shape throughout a person's life. Ang isip ng tao ay isang blanko na talaan o tabula rasa na unti-unting napupuno ng kalaman at karanasan sa buong buhay ng isang tao. John Locke is emphasizing the equality of human beings and the absence of any natural authority that justifies the destruction or domination of one another. Sinasabi niya na sa pagitan ng mga tao at iba pang mga hayop, lahat ng tao ay mayroong pare-parehong kakayahan. Plus, our main purpose, according to Locke, is to survive as individuals and as a species. Freedom to alter their own souls suggests the idea that individuals have the autonomy and liberty to shape and define their own beliefs, identity, and values. It signifies the power to make choices and decisions that align with one's true self, rather than being constrained by external influences or societal norms. It reflects the concept of self-determination and the ability to craft one's own unique life path and character. Number 3. Immanuel Kant, 1724 to 1804. He was a German philosopher and known as one of the Central Enlightenment thinkers. According to Kant, a human person has an inner and outer self which together form his/her consciousness. The inner self consists of his/her psychological state and rational intellect. The outer self is a human person's senses and the physical world. Kant's moral philosophy is about philosophy of freedom. Without human freedom, for Kant, moral appraisal and moral responsibility would be impossible. Kant believes that if a person cannot act otherwise, then his or her act can have no moral worth. Para kay Kant, kung walang kalayaan ng tao, ang moral na pagtatasa o moral na responsibilidad ay magiging imposible. Naniniwala si Kant na kung ang isang tao ay hindi maaaring kumilos ng iba, ay ang kanyang kilos ay maaaring walang moral na halaga. There are 4 key ingredients for a good life, according to Kant: self-knowledge, morality, courage, and rationality. Gilbert Ryle. He published The Concept of Mind, a British philosopher, leading figure in the Oxford philosophy or the ordinary language movement. Unlike the dualism of Descartes, but like Merleau-Ponty, Riles believed that the working of the mind are not distinct from the action of the body, but are one and the same. His belief is, I act, therefore I am. Kung ano ang pinapakita o ginagawa niya, ay siya yon o ikaw yon. Your action will define you, and your actions will determine whether you are truly a good and respectful person or not. Paul Montgomery Churchland, 1942. Is a Canadian philosopher and author known for his studies of the brain, the philosophy of the mind, and the neurophilosophy. Churchland adheres to materialism, the beliefs that nothing except matters exists. If a thing can be organized by the senses, then it is not real. Churchland asserts that since the mind can be experienced by our senses, then the mind doesn't really exist. It is the physical brain and not the mind that gives us our senses of the self. Ayon kay Churchland, kung ang isang bagay ay hindi nakikilala ng pandama, kung gayon ito ay hindi totoo. Iginiit din ni Churchland na dahil ang isip ay hindi maaaring maranasan ng ating mga pandama, kung gayon ang isip ay hindi talaga umiiral. Ang pisikal na utak at hindi ang isip ang nagbibigay sa atin ng ating pakiramdam sa sarili. According to Churchland, the self is the brain. All a person has is the brain. And so if the brain is gone, there is no self. For him, the physical brain and not the imaginary mind gives people the sense of the self. In short, the mind is the self and the brain doesn't exist. Maurice Merleau-Ponty, the self is embodied subjectivity. All knowledge of ourselves and our world is based on the subjective experience. Ang lahat ng kalaman sa ating sarili at sa ating mundo ay batay sa pansariling karanasan. Charles Horton Coley. Coley's theory of self is one in which we learn who we are through interactions with others. This is known as the looking glass self. This basically means that our self-image comes from our own self-reflection and from what others think of us. The people whom a person interacts with become a mirror in which he views himself. What others see on you is the real you. Based on Coley, kung ano ang nakikita at naiisip ng tao sa iyo, ayon ang totoong ikaw. George Herbert Mead, 1863 to 1931. Mead's theory of self refers to this as the I and the me phase. The I is the answer to the me, which is the interpersonal self. Put another way, I is a person's reaction to the other people's emotions, whereas me is the ordered set of those perceptions that one acquires. The I stands for a person's feelings and instincts. It is the subjective element and the active self side of self. The me is the one who is being understood. It is the objective element of the self. It represents the internalized attitude. He claims that the self is not there at birth, meaning the self is not based on inherited traits and other biologist factors.